All right. Good evening, Leandro. Thanks for being in today's class. We're going to start today with you. All right. How are you? How do you feel today?
Good evening. Very good. And you?
Great. That's great to know. I'm fine as well. Thanks, Leandro. Let's then continue. Today we have to cover two lessons, as you might remember. We finished working with models, right? We know that we can use models as subjects, as objects after some verbs, after some expressions, and after some prepositions. Well, actually, after all prepositions, right? The only word we have to be careful with is the word to, because the word to can be a preposition, and it can be also the particle or the first part of an infinitive, right? And in that case, it is not going to be a preposition, all right? But when it's a preposition, as the rule says, it has to be used with gerund, and sometimes it is. So let's go now to the next part, that is going to be models of possibility. This is very simple. We are just going to practice by speaking this one, and the next one we're going to go back to some writing exercises. So let's read please this introduction, Leandro.
Okay. Models. There are three main models of possibility: may, might, and could.
There you go, right? So three models that work when you want to say something that is possible. May and might here are like synonyms, okay? Actually, might is the past of may, but here it is not the past. Here, the meaning of both words is exactly the same, right? And could is possibility. All of them are going to work only for present and future situations. All right, let's take that into account. Now, if you remember again the rule, anytime you have a model, you have to use the base verb, right? What is the base verb? The verb without any type of modification. So it's going to be go, right? It cannot be going. It cannot be to go. It cannot have any type of modification. It's always going to be the base verb, right? We know that one as well. So let's read the function. It's what I told you after you read, but let's complement that one by reading this, please.
Okay. And function. We use these models to describe a possible action. Because of the uncertainty, these models are often used to talk about the future, though sometimes we want to express the possibility in the present.
Thank you very much. Yes, so as I was telling you, right, it's going to be for present and future, mainly about future. Now, we're going to repeat just this word. Please remember that the you in most of the cases is going to be like so in this case, it's going to be like uncertainty. Let's repeat that one, please.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty. There you go. Okay, so one more time. You use may, might, and could to talk about possible actions in the future, but also that can be related to the present. All right. With that into account, I'm going to read three of these examples, and you're going to read the next ones. Okay, so I read this first. It says, I may go traveling next year. Okay, that's future possibility. My kids might be in the car now, right? They might be in the car now, so it's present possibility, and they might attend. So this is the complete idea. So they might attend the awards ceremony tomorrow night. Okay, so all of them are not something that for sure is going to happen. It's just a possibility. Okay, this is just a possibility, and one more time, a possibility. So we have four. Let's read those four ideas with you, please.
Okay. He could call you back tonight. We could choose a new color of paint for the bedroom. I might join you if I finish early. The results of the study may shed some light on this condition.
All right, thank you very much. So once again, right, all of these ideas are not something that for sure will happen. It's just a possibility when you don't know. Now, before that one, let's try to give some ideas, please, and you can give me real examples. What are some things that you may or might do in the following year or then the following 2 years then?
I could travel to Cochabamba.
Okay, that's one possibility. Good. What
Mhm.
else?
I might um, um, well, I may join to a university class in February.
Okay, sorry. Yes, good. Just one detail there. Remember, if you use join, you're not going to use a preposition. So you just say I may join a university class or a university course. All right, with all the two. Okay, good. That's great. One more, please. Only one more possibility, but let's try to go further. Okay, what is something that you might do in 5 years? Okay, in 5 years. What do you say? A possibility in 5 years.
I could work in the future.
Okay, yes, that's correct, right?
Mhm.
Anything that you're not sure of is going to function and work as possibility. All right, there you go. So it's very simple. Now, this is very important. To give a negative possibility, you only use may and might. You don't use could because, as it says there, it's not negative possibility, it's impossibility, right? Why? Because of this example. Let's read this example and we're going to understand the difference, please.
Sorry.
Yes, let's read these two examples over here, please, so that we understand the
Okay.
difference between may and might in negative and could in negative.
Okay. I may or I might not go to the party. Possibility correct, and I couldn't go to the party. Impossibility.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So this is very important, right? When you say I may or might not go to the party, you are saying, I don't know, right? Perhaps I will go, perhaps I won't go, right? That's what you're saying. But when you say I couldn't go to the party, you're saying no, I won't go. It's impossible for me to go, right? So once again, in affirmative, you get possibilities with may, might, and could, but in negative, you only use may and might, all right? Because once again, if you use could, that's impossible for you. So let's actually practice with the one that we cannot use, could. What is something impossible for you to do, let's say tomorrow? What do you say, Leandro? What is something that you couldn't do tomorrow?
Mm. Couldn't go to the dentist.
Okay, good. Yes, because of a certain reason, right? It can be
Mhm.
something economic, it can be something related to emotions, right? Because of a certain reason, it's impossible for you to go to the dentist, right? And now let's go back to may and might. What is something that you may not do tomorrow, right? But you don't know. You may not do it. You may do it.
Mm. I may um, not go to eat in a restaurant.
Okay, yes, I may not go to eat in a restaurant or at a restaurant, right? Correct. That's good. Again, and that's when you want to express that you don't know. And the difference with couldn't is very big over there. Now, you also know this one perhaps. That's why this lesson is very short. You don't contract may and might in negative, right? It's impossible to contract. It's always going to be may not and might not. There's no contraction possible over there. And now the opposite happens in questions, right? In negative, you only use may and might and not could. But in questions, you only use could and not may and might. Why? Because might is not used in questions and may is used in questions, but the meaning is different, right? The meaning is permission and it's not possibility. All right. But in other words, to summarize this, you only use could to ask for possibilities about the present or the future. All right. You can ask anything actually about a possibility. So if I ask you this, all right, and you can reply in the way you believe it's better. Could you, all right, could you finish all the assignments and take the quiz by tomorrow? How can you reply that, Leah?
Yes, I could.
Yeah, it's correct, right? In this case, we can use could. It's going to be good, and it's about a possibility, and you believe that it's possible for you to do it, right? It's not that 100% something that it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. Good. So let's try to formulate like that, please. Two questions. What are two questions that you can ask to anybody, Leandro, to talk about possibility in the future?
Could um, the restaurant close in the future?
Yes, that's good. That's a valid and a good question for possibility in the
Mm-hmm.
future. And one more, please.
Okay. Cool. Um, uh, could you um, could you go to the party?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Any idea that you have, if it's with could you go to the party? Could you join me? Could you finish that for, I don't know, right, that weekend? Any idea with could is going to be considered possibility, but only if you have a good context, right? And if you're talking about future, because remember that could also means ability in past, right? So if you add a past expression, it can have a different meaning. But here we only care about present and future expressions to talk about it. All right, now that's it with could, may, and might. We're going to finish this one because in the next lesson, we're going to need that time for the next lesson. This is review. This is not the topic, all right? But it's important to know when you have to use will and when you have to use be going to. All right, once again, it's not today's topic, but it's going to be very important to, well, take this into account. So let's start by, let me change the color, and by reading, please, will. Let's read only the words that are in bold. Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's read those usages, please, Leandro.
Okay. Will plus base form. A decision at the moment of speaking. A prediction based on opinion. A future fact for promises, requests, refusals, offers.
There you go. Thank you very much. So it means, right, if it's not a plan and you decide something at the moment for the future, you have to use will, right? If you're on the street, you don't have any plans, but your friend tells you, right, hey, there's a good party this weekend, and he convinces you to go, then you can say, okay, I will go, right? Because you decided that at that moment. Okay, so that's a good option to use will. Predictions based on opinion, right? If you believe that Trump will win the next elections one more time, you can say, right? I think that Donald Trump will win the elections one more time. And that's your opinion. But if you have statistics and if you show the statistics, you don't use will. You're going to use be going to, right? So if you don't have evidence, you use will. Then future facts and promises, requests, refusals, offers, that's something extra. We're not going to talk about that today, but it's important to know that. And now to finish, please, this lesson, let's read now be going to, the same, the letters in the words in bold, please.
Okay, and be going to plus base form. A decision before the moment of speaking. Plans. A prediction based on something we can see or hear now.
There you go, right? So it's actually the opposite, right? So will is for a decision at the moment of speaking, but be going to is for a decision before the moment of speaking, right? Once again, if you find your friend and he tells you, hey, there's a great party this weekend, but you say, no, I cannot go. I am going to go to the doctor that day or the following day, and I cannot drink or I cannot be at the party, right? So your plan is you are going to go to the doctor, right? And prediction based on something, again, if you watch the news and you see Donald Trump has 50% of all the voters right rate, and you are going to say, yes, Donald Trump is going to win the elections, right? Because you have evidence. All right. So actually, again, is the opposite. So when you decide at the moment and you don't have evidence, you have to use will. But when you have plans and you have evidence, you have to use be going to. All right. We're going to practice this in the future because we are going to see this lesson one more time. But as this is just about possibility, this is something extra. All right, try to practice this by yourself. And Andrew, if you get to have any questions about future, you can let me know. And to finish, actually, this is the last part. I was forgetting this one. The expression be likely to or that, it means it's possible. Okay, it's the same as it's possible. For example, it's possible that I'll go there. You can say it's likely that I will go there, right? Or you can say it is very possible to happen, but you can say it's very likely, right? So the expression likely means possible, all right? There's a big possibility, a big chance that something will happen. Okay, so what is something likely that you could do, Leandro? What do you say? Or something likely that you will do in the future? And you can use the expression that you see here.
It's likely that I will the a request a delivery. It's request a word.
Yes, you can say request, or you can simply say to order something.
Order,
Right?
okay.
To order a delivery, or to order, you can say some pizza, and to ask for a delivery, right? Good, good. So that's something likely, right? It's likely that I'll order, right, some foods and to ask for a delivery. Great. Now, what is the opposite? What is something that is not likely to happen? Or what's something that is not likely that you will do?
It isn't likely.
Yes, you can say
correct.
that, or even you can say the opposite. You have two options. You can say it's not likely, or you can say it's unlikely with UN at the beginning.
Okay.
And that's negative also.
Okay. It's unlikely that I go to the street.
Yes, that's something that you believe that it's not impossible, but you believe that it's not as possible as other things, right? And it's correct. It's unlikely that I'll go out, right? I'll go to the streets right now. Good. That's it. Okay, that's again something extra. You can have that into account, and you have the link to practice. All right, so with that, we finished this. If you get to have any questions, you know that you can ask those to me. Now we're going to go to the next lesson, and as we're going to be writing some examples here, we're still part of Unit 2, so you can still work on that same chart. The link is in the chat. So let's go now to the next presentation that is going to be reflexive pronouns, right? This can be very simple, but at the same time can be a little bit confusing, all right? But if you, again, pay attention to those little details that I'm going to tell you, it's going to be easy. Now, first, we are going to read, all right? And then I'm going to show you a chart that I'm going to work with you. Let's start, please, then, Elena. we're going to go first to the definition.
Okay, definition. Reflexive pronouns are words like myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourself, yourselves, and themselves. They refer back to a person or thing.
Good. Okay, so that's the most important part. What is a reflexive, right? And reflexive is not from reflection like think, it's reflection like a reflection of something on the mirror, right? You see your reflection when you look at yourself in the mirror, right? That's your reflection. So that's what these are reflexive pronouns because they are reflecting something, right? I, myself, you, yourself. So it's for oneself. You do something, you can receive that. That's why they say refer back to a person or thing. Okay, let's have that in mind. But we have four. In this presentation, you're going to see the general explanation, but then I'm going to build a chart for you so that you know the four main ways to use reflective pronouns. So I'm going to read so that we have time to work on the chart. I'm going to read this, and please, you are going to read this this example and this example over here. Okay, now it says we often use reflexive pronouns when when the subject and the object of a verb are the same. Okay, subject and object are the same. It means I, myself, it, itself, you, yourself, and so on. So let's read these two examples, please.
Okay, I cut myself when I was making dinner last night. My phone isn't working properly. It turns itself off for no reason.
Great. Now, if I ask you this question, Leandro, who, all right, yes, who cut to keep the order? Yes, who cut themselves? How can you answer that question for the first sentence? Who cut themselves?
I cut myself.
You cut yourself, right? And in the second one, that is the last one, what turns itself?
It turns itself.
Right? Okay, so again, that's obvious, I know, but again, when we work on the chart, that can be confusing when we work with the other possibilities, all right? But here, remember, then this is very simple. You do the action, you receive the action, right? You cut and you were cut, right? So you do, you receive. It turns off and it is turned off, right? Again, it does and it receives. For the first one, that is very important, all right? Again, it can be simple, but let's have that in mind. You do the action, you receive the action. That's usage number one. Now, these next two or three are part of the second type. This time, please, you're going to read the explanation and just the first example, please.
Okay. Adding emphasis. We can add a reflexive pronoun for emphasis when it's unusual or different. He wants to pass his driving test so that he can drive himself to work.
Thank you very much. Now, here we're just going to keep this in mind, all right? The second way to use it is when something is unusual or different, and because you want to put some emphasis on it. Okay, if you, for example, you don't drive cars very frequently, it's something new, unusual, and different, you can use these reflexive pronouns, all right? Or something impressive, even different. Again, I'm going to give you a different example because here you don't have an object, but you can say something like, they learned English themselves. Okay, what is the meaning of that? That they did that without any help, without any teacher, without any type of guide. And because that's unusual, different, interesting, you're going to say themselves, like, wow, they did it without any type of help. All right, and that's something impressive. All right, so that's the second way of using it. Here, you don't do the action and you receive the action. No, here you're just putting emphasis of that. Okay, so in the second type, you don't receive that action, you only put emphasis on who did the action, because that's kind of interesting to know. Now, this is related to that. In the same way as the previous one, let's also do the following, please. Leandro, let's also read the explanation plus the first example.
Okay, we can use reflexive pronouns to emphasize to someone does to personally, not anybody else. And the door was definitely locked. I locked it myself.
Great, thank you very much. Let's only repeat this word, please. The stress is going to be in the first part, so it's going to be definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely, exactly. So if you analyze now, what's the difference with number one, Leandro? One more time, you have a subject, you have an object. So this is the same as the previous one, but it's different from number one. You do the action, I locked, but you don't receive the action. What did you lock? If I ask you that question in this one, Dan, what did you lock?
The door.
The door, exactly, right? So you don't receive the action here. But why do you say myself? Myself here is not receiving the action. It's just saying, wow, I did it. Or in this case, I did it personally. Okay, so again, the previous one and this one are the same. You use reflexive pronouns when something is different, unusual, something that is surprising, or when you want to say, I did that personally. I did it myself, and that's why I know that it's true. Okay, something like that. It's because you know that you did it personally. It's the same as the next one that I didn't make you read, but it says, are you redecorating your flat yourselves? All right, again, are you doing that you without any type of help? All right, so that's still number two. And here you have to remember what I told you. Here, you can do the action, but you don't receive the action. You are just putting emphasis on the idea that you did it. All right, that's the difference between number one and these next two that are the same. Let's keep going. We have two more. This is one of those. Let's read the same. This time, actually, no, you're going to read just the examples. I'm going to read the explanation. It says, we can also use a reflexive pronoun together with the noun. Okay, so here you're going to use nouns. It refers to in order to emphasize it. Okay, remember that nouns are any types of names. Peter is a noun. Table is a noun. School is a noun. University, cell phone, anything that you name, right? So let's read these two examples, please.
Okay, we talked to the manager herself, and she agreed to give us our money back. Parents themselves need to take more responsibility for their children's learning.
Great, thank you very much. Now, in this one, it's very simple because you place the noun, and after the noun, you say the reflexive pronoun. And it's like saying, like the previous one, but this one works with nouns. It's like saying, I talked to the manager like in person, or like saying it was the manager. Okay, there's no doubt that it was her or it was him. All right, it's like you are confirming that, and you are saying that it was them or him or her in person. There was not another person that the one that you're mentioning. And here the same, parents themselves, not other people, not the teachers, not the children. Parents are the ones, okay, that need to take more responsibility for their children's learning. Okay, so in other words, you're saying that it has to be parents. It cannot be the government, it cannot be, again, the teachers, it cannot be society in general, it has to be the parents. All right, so you're saying all of that just by using the reflexive pronoun after that noun. Okay, you are putting one more time a lot of emphasis in that word. All right, a lot of emphasis. Now again, we're going to see this calmly after we finish the presentation because I'm going to work the chart. So this is the last one, and then we work on the document I'm going to show you. By, let's read everything here, please, in this case.
And by, we can use by plus reflexive pronoun to mean alone. He usually goes on holiday by himself. Do you enjoy being by yourself?
Great, thank you. Now, this is the last one, and this simply means alone. Okay, this is not you do, you receive. No, this is not something impressive, different, or something in person, personally. No, this is not a noun. No, this just means alone. Okay, you can say he usually goes on holiday alone. Do you enjoy being alone? All right, so it's just another way to say alone, but it's different from the previous three that we learned. All right, now we are going to understand this better because again, this was fast because I wanted to, I wanted you to see this presentation before going to this chart. Now, it's going to be a very simple chart, but at the same time, I'm going to be working on the chart. You are going to write examples that I'm going to ask you, all right? But very short examples. For example, we're going to have 3 parts, and that should be enough. So we're going to divide this in 3 parts. Okay, you have the subject, you have, let's say, the verb, and we're going to add one more, I believe. Okay, you have the object, and you have the complement. All right, so number 1, remember, if you remember what was number 1, it was you do, you receive the action. All right, so when someone does and receives the action at the same time. Okay, so that is number 1 usage for a reflexive pronouns. Now we're going to, just to remember very well, use the same colors here and here. Now again, if you're going to have any questions now in this part, you have to tell me if you have questions, but I'm going to write one example. Very simple. Is I, the verb is saw, then the object is myself, and the complement is in the, okay. All right, so number 1, what is happening is what you know, right? You do the action is to see, and you receive the action because you are seeing your reflection in the mirror. All right, so number 1 can be very easy as that. But again, you have to do and you have to receive the action. Now, I'm going to write one more actually, and then you're going to give me some examples, but write it, okay? You're going to write your examples yourself. Now, here, let's say, what can it be? Something different. All right, I said to myself that I need to change. Okay, that's another example. In this case, it's said to because you need a preposition if you want to use an object. Okay, but you said something, but it was to yourself. And what is the thing that you said? I need to change. All right, so I said to myself, I need to change. And one more time, I do the action, I receive the action, or you can even change the subject, and here it's going to be himself. All right, so he said to himself that instead of he needs to change. Right, so again, those are possibilities that we are analyzing here, good, without capital letter, and also here then without capital letter. But that's it. Those are my 2 examples, and this is the structure I'm using for you to realize that you have to do the action, you have to receive the action. All right, so I'm going to give you now 2 minutes. If you need, well, I don't believe we're going to need more, so 2 minutes. But if you finish before, once again, let me know. Write, please, two examples like this. Two examples in which you do the action or someone does the action and you receive the action or that person receives the action. All right, let's do it, please. And we check in 2 minutes.
Finish.
Good. So let's read, please, your examples. Leandro, we're going to see how they are.
Okay. You speak yourself when you're alone. She took herself money in her house.
All right, now let's analyze. All right, now with some verbs, remember, we're going to read or need some prepositions, right? Remember also, speak is not that there, but remember that we usually use speak when we want to talk about two things: the sound of the, well, the sound that we produce when we speak, or the language that we speak, right? So you say, for example, you speak English or you speak very loud, right? It means, again, the sound or the, let's say, the sound or the language that you speak, all right? But when you want to say, for example, that you can be crazy, right? And you have a conversation with yourself, then it's better that here you can also say you talk to yourselves, right? It means to talk, to have a conversation, and you also need a preposition, right? So instead of speak here, it's going to be you talk to yourselves when you are alone. All right, and again, the difference between that and speak is that speak is the sound, speak is the language, but talk is the conversation, the topic, or anything related to the production of what you say. All right, so that's why here is better to say talk. But when you say talk is good, right? You talk to yourselves when you are alone. Great. Now, in the second example, I want to be sure. What do you mean when you say took? When you say she took herself, right?
It is take.
Yes, take, right? Took is
It's
the past of take.
in the base form. Yes, I forgot that.
Okay, but here, no, actually, it can be in any tense, right? It can be in present, past, future. In this example, it can be any tense, right? But what is, in this case, give me the translation. What is the translation of the second one?
Ella tomó su propio dinero en su casa.
All right, now if I use this, remember the question. You do the action, you receive the action. But here, she does the action, what receives the action? The money,
The
not
money.
her, right? So it's not correct because the money is receiving the action. All right, here she does something and she has to receive the money, even if it's her money, right? It's not her, it's her property, but it's not her, right? So what can you change? What do you say? What can you change in number 2, in your example number 2, to make it correct? You can change the verb if you want, or you can change your example. What could it be?
I don't know. She took herself. Mm, no, I don't know.
Okay. Yes, this one is tricky, all right, because not every time you're going to speak like this, it has to be very specific. Okay, again, and
Mhm.
it's you do, you receive. Okay, if you don't receive the action, it means it's correct. Okay, this example is correct. She took herself money in her house. It's correct, but it's not this type. All right, but you can use other verbs. For example, what is something that you can do and you can receive? You can talk about, for example, doing something with your hair or doing something to your body, all right? Or yes, even in a psychological way, right? What is something good that you have to do in order to feel good with yourself? What do you say?
She brush brush herself.
Okay,
Um,
good. That is correct. And you can add any complement because actually up
yeah.
that part
Uh-huh.
is correct. You can say,
Herself.
right, how often does she do that?
Sorry.
What is the frequency? How often, or what is the frequency of she doing that action? Because you can add that one. But if you say tits, again, you are
Mhm.
talking about another object,
Mhm.
right? So here you can actually keep just she brush, but remember if it's she, this is present, then you need to do two things. If it's present, you need es. If it's past, you need ed, right? Because it's she brushes because it's third person, right? But no, at the end, after the sh over here, right? It's going to be like this. She brushes. Exactly. There you go. Brushes. Why? Because again, it's she. Or if it starts, it's going to be brushed, right?
Mhm.
But you need one of those two. Now herself. And again, I was asking the frequency because if you say T, that's the object. And she
Mhm.
is not the object anymore. It's part of her, but she's not receiving the action. It's the her teeth. All right. And also remember that teeth is irregular, right? So teeth is plural. What is the singular of teeth? Tooth.
Good. Mm.
Tooth. So one teeth, one tooth, two teeth, right? But you don't
Mhm.
need s. But here, don't add another object because actually you have to say not herself teeth. This will be the correct her teeth, right? But
Mhm.
to make it correct again in this way, you have to use only herself, all right? Herself. And here you can give a
Yes.
different complement, right? Something like every morning, all right? And in that way, she does the action, she receives the action, right? And
Okay.
once again, it's just because in this specific context with this green one, it has to be like that. All right. Now, this is I think the hardest. All right. This one, the specific one we're learning now, is the hardest. Now, the next one, number 2, if you remember, number 2 says uh, emphasis, something unusual, something different, or personal. Right? When someone does something impressive, right, different, or personally. Okay, so that is the one over there. No, it's okay over there. Now, if this is going to be with a different color, and now we're going to write examples with that. Here, remember that now you don't do the action, you don't receive the action here. It's not important. It's just emphasis on something. So I can say, I build, sorry, the verb has to be here. I build that house myself. Now this is complement, right? So I do the action, but I don't receive the action. But I did it myself, and that's impressive that I built that house. To me, it's impressive, so I can say myself, and this is just emphasis. All right, this is just emphasis. Let's try with one more. And you can say she painted, right, that work herself, right? And that's it. Those are two possible examples in this case, Leandro. And now let's do it, all right, with you once again. This time, let's try to do it right away. Let's try the first example, please. What would the first example be in your case? Let's try it out, please.
Write or read?
Yeah, you're going to write it, and at the same time, you can read.
Okay. I bought that book. It's myself or by myself?
Here is only myself, because here you don't want to say alone. Here you want to say just, hey, I did it. It's not necessarily alone, okay? Because you can do it, you can buy that book yourself with your parents or with your brother, okay? But you can say here myself. Myself is going to be a different one. Okay, so only myself.
Okay. Myself.
Okay, one more, please.
Okay, you made money yourselves.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. Now, again, the only correction over here is going to be that one. All right, the order, first the H and then the T. But everything is great. All right. Now, once again, the difference between by myself and myself is that myself doesn't mean alone. Okay, it means personally. But you can do that with someone. Okay, not alone. So when you say I bought that book myself, it doesn't mean alone. It means that you did it personally, but perhaps you were with your brother, with your sister, with your mother, with your father. But if you say I bought that book by myself, it is not impressive. It's not unique. It's not different. You are just saying alone. Okay, so that's the difference between myself and by myself. And in number two, we only need to use myself. So that's great. That's number two. Number three, all right, to put some emphasis on a noun. That's easy, okay? To put some emphasis on a noun. And you know, a noun is going to be everything that can be named, all right? Anything that can be named. So two examples here, it doesn't matter. It can be on the subject, it can be on the as an object. You can say the president himself. Here, that's the subject, okay? The president himself. The president himself came, all right, to the presentation, right? over here. And actually, this is not the object because here we don't have objects. That's directly the complement. All right, so I'm saying the president. Wow, it's impressive. He was the president. Okay, without any doubts, I saw him. It was the president himself. All right, so it can be the subject, or as we're going to see, I, all right, let's say, okay, we're going to see, I have seen, all right, David, sorry, David himself, right, at that party. All right, so here, as you can see, it can be with common names, it can be with proper names, but it has to be with a noun, and it has to be next to it. And here, this is also when it's something or impressive or in person, or you just want to put emphasis on that noun that you are mentioning, right? Now, let's do the same, please. In this case, we need a different color, but you're going to write also the two examples over there, please. And I'm going to do that. Okay, so let's do it, please. Two examples, and let's read the examples as you are writing them. Great, thank you,
I
David.
finish.
Good, so let's read those two examples, please.
Okay. You talked to the owner himself at the restaurant. The community themselves have an opinion about it.
Great, thank you very much, David. I think they are good. All right, there's one detail about the second one, but they are great. Okay, we're just going to take this word before this one, all right, because this is going to be part of the owner, right? Just that one. But again, that's not a correction. I'm just doing that. Here, when you talk about the community, right, sometimes we can talk about groups as plural. For example, when you say police, okay, the police is a plural word actually. So you say the police are, all right? But in this case, when you talk about family and the community, in most of the cases, not every time, it is going to be considered as one entity. So it's going to be the community itself instead of themselves. All right. And then if it's like that the case, instead of have, we're going to say has over there, sorry. And over here would be has, right? An opinion about, or usually instead of about, when you say opinion, you say better on that topic, on that. And here you can add something extra, topic, or you can say matter, okay, on that matter, en ese asunto. Okay, so just that. With that correction, please, let's read one more time this example, the community.
Okay, and the community itself has an opinion about on that
Topic or matter.
Topic.
Exactly. There you go. And here, when you say on, right, you don't say about. So good. That's great. Now, one more, please. With that, we're going to finish. We're just going to use 2 extra minutes because we're going to write just one example this time. All right. And if you remember the last one, when it means alone. All right. And it is very simple. It only means alone. So in this case, let's use again a different color. And right, that one. So, and this is going to be the same. I'm going to give you the idea in the meantime. Anything that works in that way is going to be correct. So, she, all right, went, and here is going to be to the party, because in this case, to is not the preposition for went, but for the location, by herself. All right, it means, in other words, alone, and that's it. All right, it doesn't have to be something impressive, something different, something unusual. No, here in number 2, it has to be like that. Something that is different, unusual, impressive, or at least personally. But here it's enough if it means alone. You don't have to add anything else. So let's write your example, please.
Okay. He studies by himself in at the university.
Oh, perfect. That is great. Okay, no observations there. Very simple, right? So when you add by, it means alone. But if you don't say by himself, you're just saying personally, or you're just saying, hey, this needs attention because it's something different. Okay, so it's going to be different if you say he studies himself at the university and he studies by himself at the university. Okay, one means only alone, and the other one means something different, unusual, or he did that, or he does that personally, and it's important for you to know. But that's it. On my side, that's it, Leandro. It means that, as I told you, you have 4 important ones. When you do and receive the action, that's one. When you do something impressive, different, or personally, to put emphasis on a noun, and when you want to say alone. That's how you are going to be using the reflexive pronouns. And with that, we are finishing today. I don't know if you have questions or comments before finishing, Leandro. Let me know, please.
Yeah, in yesterday you asked me to topics if I need to study more.
Yes.
I think I need to study vocabulary.
Okay.
Because I forgot many words and many rules, maybe grammar.
All right, good. So what we're going to do again is I'm going to ask you to write about specific topics, okay, and examples. And instead of just sentences, you're going to have a challenge. You're going to be writing paragraphs, okay, but short paragraphs, so 4 lines, something like that. And you are going to use vocabulary. So the way you're going to be learning with me is that in the time you're going to have to write, you have the internet and everything to use it, right? And to look for that vocabulary. But I'm going to see if you're going to use those words correctly, and I'm going to give you extra suggestions for that case. All right.
Okay.
So instead of giving you directly a list of words that you have to memorize, you're going to be using the knowledge directly by trying to write some paragraphs. Again, for example, it can be about the career that you study or you want to study, about the job that you want to have or you would like to have. So you're going to need to give me some vocabulary. And again, if you don't know, at that moment, you're going to go to the internet to look for options, and I'm going to tell you if they are correct, and again, give you more options even above those. All right, that's the
Okay.
way we're going to be working. And again, I'm going to keep making you give me examples in all right and writing so that I can see those details, and I'm going to be helping you in that way as well. All right.
Okay.
Great. And also, we're going to see other possibilities as we're going to be working together. But tomorrow, we're going to continue. We're going to see how we do with these paragraphs I'm telling you so that we can see some changes over there. But that's it then. Thanks for letting me know that one,
Okay.
Leandro. The vocabulary, the conjugation, grammar, rules. But again, if you realize little by little in every lesson, we're going to be practicing that. And the vocabulary is just something that little by little you have to be remembering. You're going to tell me what is your perhaps interest in terms of studying, in terms of working, so that we can get words for that specific field.
Okay.
Right, that's what we're going to do. Great. Now today, I'm going to send please two surveys before finishing today, Leandro. The first one is the usual poll that you can see now. Let's answer that one first, please. All right, I believe it's done. Now, this next one is what we call the satisfaction survey. This is for the middle of the course. It means we are in the class number 4. All right, this is the middle of the class. And you just need to answer how you feel until this point.
Okay.
There you go. So that's it. I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow to finish with this week. And tomorrow we have to start Unit 3 as well.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.